Thank you so much for coming this evening. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and staff and parents, It's my absolute joy and honour to be welcoming you, our parents and staff, finally face-to-face after 2 years. We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. We pay respect to the Wurundjeri elders, past, present and emerging, and extend this respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait people from other communities who are here today. Your daughters have been amazing, showing so much strength and commitment to move through what has been a most turbulent and unpredictable time. Young people thrive in environments characterised by stability, but when, as a world, we faced unpredictability, it was profoundly moving to see how our students and young people in general around the world navigating new ways of being and new ways of being at school, whether it be online lesson delivery, student-teacher consultations online, house and co-curricular involvements online, and of course, nurturing relationships with peers and teachers online, quite oddly online. So in an odd twist, whilst so challenging and hard, what is actually quite astounding is that students were still able to thrive and achieve so much, both academically and personally. This has been most humbling to witness. It certainly has been a time for reflection and growth. Fast forward to 2022, the present day, and there has been so much activity and a palpable buzz around the school. Enthusiasm to get involved in clubs, sporting groups, music ensembles, amongst the plethora of offerings here. And in the first few weeks of classes, there is a real sense of purpose and application that my colleagues and I have noticed. On that, staff are as busy as ever, deep in class preparation and delivery, taking every opportunity to inspire our students to be independent thinkers, enabled and empowered to embrace study and life, whilst exploring the pathways their academic journeys will take them on. And it's so heartening to see everybody working together. It's just fantastic. This evening, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the key staff that will be integral to your daughter's journey, whether in year 10, 11 or 12 in the senior years. Firstly, our heads of year. At year 10, we have Mrs. Tracy McCallum. At year 11, Mrs. Linda Morgan, and I'm the head of year 12, Vicky Spunks. As heads of year, we are the wellbeing point of call for students and welcome your calls and communication in your journey and in our journey to raise the child. Each of us have offices in our respective areas, in the hub of those areas, and we are there for everyone. We're blessed to meet your daughters every day and work closely together as a wellbeing team to provide pastoral care and guidance. One very important point about the wellbeing program at year 10, 11 and 12 is that the head of year 12 accompanies their students through, so year 11 and year 12. So it is a very powerful relationship that is developed for that period of time, the most formative years, I would say, and what a privilege to have taken a group through 3 years now. Our wonderful heads of faculty. Often there are specific subject matters to discuss, and our impressive heads of faculty are always willing to share their insights and expertise, clarifying matters regarding their specific subject area. And you will have an opportunity to meet some of the heads of faculty a bit later on. Please feel free to contact them if there is an issue, a subject issue, or anything pertaining to subject, and they're very happy and willing to provide clarification. So we have Mrs. Marianne Keratiotis, Head of English, Miss Angela Klansik, Head of Mathematics, the Head of Humanities, Mr. Paul Gilby, Head of Science, Mrs. Vanessa Jackson-McRae. Head of Arts, Mrs. Vicky Marinelli. Head of Languages, Mrs. Anna Pianetze. Head of Learning Plus, Mrs. Elke Gainsler. Acting Head of Health and Physical Education, Ms. Sam Basford. Head of Sport, Mr. Nick Racina. Head of Performing Arts, Mr. James Brown. Head of Music, Mr. Tim Collins. Head of Debating, Public Health. See what my mind is, not public health, public speaking. And just as a point there, Head of Debating, it's a very popular co-curricular, so we felt that Marianne was a really important person to put on as far as that particular activity is concerned. As students move into their senior years, VCE is on their mind, and this starts at year 10 with many students undertaking a Unit 1 subject. The school provides further support with Mrs. Seri Lloyd, Director of Teaching and Learning, who oversees the senior years learning model, and Ms. Kanako Yakuchi, who is our Dean of Academics, and she oversees matters VCE and VCA. And finally, and both these staff members will be addressing you this evening, our careers advisors, Ms. Christy Tyne and Zoe Paulson, who have the exciting job of paving future pathways for our students and who will also be speaking with you this evening. I wish you, as well as our students and staff, a most wonderful year ahead, and encourage you to freely connect with the members of staff who will be supporting your daughter at St. Catherine's School. It's a wonderful community. I'm really happy to be able to see your faces. Some of you, we've been working together for 3 years, and I think it's the first time I'm actually seeing you face to face, so that's quite amazing. I now invite Mrs. Seri Lloyd, the Director of Teaching and Learning, to speak with us. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome. It's absolutely wonderful to see parents back on campus after so much time on screen, so welcome. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the Strategic Intent 2025 that we have been discussing at the school from a leadership perspective, and how that flows down to your daughters in the classrooms at year 10, 11 and 12. One area that we've been really focused on is what is a graduate of, in this slide, 2025, but it could be 2023, 2024, 2027. What we're trying to articulate here is the skills, the dispositions and the acquisitions that students need as they journey into what we're calling the senior years. And as Vicky said quite aptly, we have this wonderful support network for your daughters as they move into the senior years. But I love this particular slide. This is one of our junior school teachers, and I think it really visually represents what St. Catherine's stands for within our classrooms, which is thinking and learning. And I think you can really see on the faces of those very young students how much they are getting from the interaction with one of our junior school teachers. Have to brag a little bit, I think, this evening. It's lovely to actually be able to say number one. And I did ask the Year 12s the other day, when they came in the 2021 cohort for the Leaders Assembly, I said, could we just do a photo where we all sort of go like this? They sort of looked at me, but it is a wonderful journey that we've been on, and you know, behind every VCE result of 2021, there's a story, and a lot of those stories are interweaved with the beautiful partnerships that we have at the school between yourselves as parents, the teachers within the classrooms, and most importantly, the students. And I do feel really privileged to be able to stand here. I obviously headed up English last year, but right across the board now in my new role to look at results and see the extraordinary achievements of our students right across Year 12 with a real mixture of abilities. So number one's a nice place to be. It didn't just happen. We sort of looked to realign in our learning model and our thinking around 3 years ago, and I will take you through a little bit of that in a moment. But the statistics are always lovely. I'm not a huge data-driven person, and I'm not particularly good at analysis of data. I'm more into the languages and English and literature teacher. However, I think some data and statistics are wonderful to look at. When you look at that we had our study scores, 45 plus were achieved in a vast range of subjects. We had a median study score in the school of 37 and a mediator of 92.1 in the rankings. And I'm not going to talk too much about the data. I know quite a lot has been written and publicised, but it is a lovely place to be. And it is lovely to say to all of you that every student at St Catherine's in 2021, so that's 100% of them, got into the course that they wanted to. In some cases, students were reselecting their preferences through the careers office because they had done and achieved at a level that they didn't think was possible. So that was a lovely story too. So I do want to acknowledge our careers department and all the work that they did with the girls too last year. As I said before, it doesn't just happen. There's a story, a narrative behind every student's journey in the senior years, particularly around what we're now trying to articulate is how did those results become so great, and what can we do to build on them and sustain them? And so working with the heads of faculty pretty much and leadership straight after the results came out, we sort of tried to articulate what we do at St Catherine's that is particularly important. And I think that this graphic really does look quite aptly at what we do. And I wanted to start very much with the student care. The fact that we have classes where personalised learning is not just something that we do, it is something that we demand of ourselves. And we have students that need support, and we have very high achieving students, but we look at a personalised learning program and we take every opportunity to give students a pathway that will suit them, and that might be VCE, it might be VET as a subject, it could be Learning Plus if they need some support, it could be trying to put them in touch with a subject, it could be VCE through virtual schools to study if that's a real challenge, and university enhancement subjects as well. So the pathways are very differentiated. I do think though, and above that, the continuity and consistency of our day and our structure, every lesson, every day counts. And unlike other schools, we shifted backwards and forwards online really effectively. And I do want to acknowledge that the senior teachers and all the teachers at all levels of the school that did that so relentlessly last year. And again, balancing their own lives and their own families outside the school. Thank you. Thank you. Teacher mastery is something that we have been working on for some time, and I feel really privileged to work with such an amazing group of staff. When we embarked on our Teaching for Thinking strategy in 2019, it was really strategically to look at improving and delivering the best positive outcomes for students that we could. And also our pedagogical background and expertise. The teachers here are always looking to professionally learn and bring that back into the classrooms. And I think that is a wonderful part of being a community where we have a one campus, where we can have touch points with our junior school teachers, even with our prep students and the teachers, and look at the programs that we're putting in place transition-wise across the school. One thing I mentioned, it is the thinking classroom, and Teaching for Thinking is a pedagogical strategic focus was something we introduced in 2019 through our pedagogical coach, Christy Forrest, who some of you may know teaches English, literature and philosophy in the school. It allowed us to really build the framework that I really want to talk about as in terms of academic care. And I think for your girls, whether they're in year 10, your daughter's year 11 or embarking on their final year, that academic care is consistent. We learnt a lot in 2020 and 2021. I know I certainly did professionally, and I think I did personally in my own household, with one child on online learning in year 10 and 11 and another one at university, who in the 2 years she's been there has had 1 day face-to-face on campus. And I think that we really took away some of what the tertiary institutions were doing, and we really reflected on what do we need to do here to prepare our students for the world that they will embark into, and it's not going to be the same. But we wanted to keep first and foremost that our school's about relationships. We knew that students were going to come back to us and say they wanted to do things differently, and they did. The Learn at Home program surveys that we did, that you might have seen your daughters doing, really spelled out to us that they wanted to have greater ownership and flexibility and autonomy over their learning, a bit more independence, a bit more self-paced. Certainly not the relentless online platform that we had delivered out, but something like a step in or a step up. And the impact of COVID, we know we weren't going to stand still. We couldn't just continue to deliver out the programs that we were. So we were looking for teaching reform that aligns with the educational reform that all the research and data that I've read is suggesting very clearly that that's going on across the globe. So first and foremost, our graduate we want, and you can see the dispositions down the side, but one that I want to touch on is the independence of the learning, or as I like to also say, the interdependence, working with others and collaborating. So your daughters that are in Year 11 would be familiar with the independent learning tutorials, but I know that there are Year 10 parents here that might not be. And for Year 12 parents, this will probably be of interest because some teachers are starting to do a little bit of this in the Year 12 subjects as well. But we decided that we wanted to implement what we call independent learning tutorials, that we want to adapt our model to be flexible, to be contemporary, to allow students to pathway through the senior years and into tertiary institutions or into careers or into jobs, whatever they choose to do, with the toolbox that they need. We introduced again the face-to-face as the primary model because we know it's all about relationships, but we did introduce as well some asynchronous. I'm not going to read the whole slide because this is being recorded and you can sort of review it in your own time. But from the feedback, we looked and we analysed. We looked a lot at student survey evidence around this model when it was introduced last year, and you can see there that I'm all about getting student feedback and staff feedback on anything that we will introduce around the teaching and learning space. And again, the girls really are our first priority in when we sort of shift and change models. So the independent learning tutorials were introduced last year, and now we are redefining them, and they are probably, I would say, even better than they were last year. A sample timetable, if your daughter's in Year 10 and 11, they will have a suite of obviously face-to-face classes, and one of them will be an independent learning tutorial where they choose what work that they do, delivered out with recorded masterclasses, lectures and tutorials, which aligns very much with some of what's going on in the tertiary institutions at the moment. You can see that the senior school ILT development around the model is pretty clear in this graphic. The independent learning tutorials revolve around a flexi-tute, where the girls go to the library, they check in, they may choose to work in a facility other than the library. It could be Wiltondale if they're doing artwork, it could be a language teacher around instruction. They may choose to tap into the teacher support or facilitator that's in the library to get some assistance with their work. And that's part of it is viewing online really quite engaging and rigorous masterclass lectures. And we've refined that a little bit around what the girls were telling us. At first we made them far too long and they were a little bit passive. So we've sort of taken that feedback on board, and the teachers at St Catherine's are exemplary at evolving and adapting. I won't go through all the flexi-tutes, but I've sort of covered that off, but there's a lot of choice in what they can do, and it's not aligned to a particular subject. They just have to complete the work that's given to them in an independent way. I was talking to a few Year 10s in my Year 10 English class after the lesson today, and they were saying how much they were loving having that freedom and a bit more choice and autonomy in their learning. What do they look like? In English, it could be historical context lectures, tutorials on skills for essay writing, maths problem solving. Again, in the humanities, links to further reading or stimulus, instruction and purpose around individual work or group work, health and PE, instructional videos around coaching, quite practical, experiential learning, or undertaking data analysis. Science problem solving, again, you can read the slides. Arts videos, they've done some amazing work where they've hovered a camera while they're doing lino cutting or etchings and fast forwarding it so that the girls can replay, revise, reinforce their learning. Masterclasses have been so beneficial. One student said to me, in their ability to provide me with time to choose between the types of work I wish to prioritise and complete. And I think that that is part of what we are really heading towards with our strategic intent. We want our graduates to be bold, independent, resilient, and also creative. And lastly, from me, the graduate, we really do want a young woman who's mastered independent learning, who's flexible and adaptable, who has all our great core values of being empathetic and curious and persevere and have that grit. And I think if the pandemic has shown us anything, it has shown how resilient the students can be in quite extraordinary times. I'm so looking forward to looking after your girls and supporting them with my wonderful team that's sitting at the front through the senior years. And I wish you a wonderful year, and please reach out if you have any questions or need any support. It's my great pleasure to introduce the Dean of Academics, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of the parameters of the VCE.
Thank you, Mrs. Lloyd, and welcome to VCAA 2022. I'm Kana Yokoguchi, for those of you who don't know me, but it's also really lovely to see so many familiar faces, even though you do have masks on the front half of your faces. From my time as head of Year 7, I'm absolutely delighted to be bookending your daughter's journey here at St Catherine's by being part of the VCAA team this year. Many of you are probably already very familiar with the acronym VCAA, and the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. They regulate and coordinate the VCAA. We work within the parameters of VCAA, and thus it is highly recommended that students regularly visit the VCAA website to familiarise themselves with the subject study designs and past exams for Unit 3 and 4 subjects, as well as the written examination timetable when they are released in the week beginning 5th of September. So we don't quite have access to the timetable just yet, but they will be coming out. How does a student get a VCE? Well, in order for a student to attain a Victorian Certificate of Education, a student must complete a minimum of 16 units. So one unit is usually one semester of the study. And of those 16 units, 3 units must be of English studies. And so these can be English, English literature, or English as an additional language. And it must also include a Unit 3-4 sequence. And then there are 3 other sequences of Unit 3 and 4 studies to contribute to their ATAR. So in terms of attendance, in terms of satisfactorily completing the units, there's also an 80% attendance requirement that is set by VCAA that St Catherine's also follows. If attendance requirements are not met, a possible consequence is a not satisfactory for that unit. If attendance is a concern, though, please be assured that we will be in communication with you as early as possible to alert you to our concerns, and that we would be putting in supports in place to ensure that your daughter will be able to meet the attendance requirements. Absences in VC classes must be supported by a medical certificate or a reasonable explanation provided in writing from a parent or a guardian. So school assessed coursework, you may have heard SACs being thrown around a fair bit. The school assessed coursework only pertains to Unit 3 and 4 studies. So these assessments can be a variety of tasks such as tests or extended essays or presentations, and they are frequent. I'd say between 1 to 4 per semester in each study. And they are also a regular part of classroom instruction. SACs are administered under consistent conditions across the cohort doing that study. And so if a student does miss a SAC or is absent for the SAC, they may be able to apply for the SAC to be rescheduled as long as the appropriate documentation is supplied, or in some cases for a derived score. So it is of utmost importance that SACs are attended, and if circumstances do arise where your daughter is unwell, then a medical certificate does need to be provided. Along with SACs, we do have SATs, which are practical developments of a folio or product. And so in 2022, SACs will apply in media, studio arts and VisCom. So Unit 3 and 4 assessment, what does that actually mean in terms of contributing to the study score? So the SACs have a variety of weightings, and then they typically contribute between 34 to 50% of the study score. External assessments also have varied weightings, from 30% in some creative arts subjects to 66% in all maths subjects. And in June, usually, the GAT, the General Achievement Test, must be completed by all students studying a Unit 3-4 sequence. We have just received notification from VCAA this morning that this year the GAT will be held on the 7th of September. This was a date released just this morning, so we are still trying to get our heads around that. But the reason for the lateness or the delay is because the format is actually changing this year, and they expect that it will return to the June timeframe in 2023. And finally, the VCAA October and November exams in all VC studies, they occur for music performance or oral languages usually in October, and the written exams or the final exams are in November, and they may be 1 or 2 exams depending on the study taken. So in order for students to get an satisfactory completion or an S for a unit, they must demonstrate achievement of each of the outcomes for that unit as specified in the study design. The achievement of outcomes must meet the required standard, must be submitted on time, is clearly the student's own work, and must ensure that no substantive breach of VCAA and school rules have occurred, and this includes attendance requirements. So if all outcomes are achieved, then the student receives an S for that unit. When we're talking about authentication, VCE teachers must ensure that the VCAA's authentication requirements are met. And if there's any doubt about the authentication of a student's work, or if there has been a breach of SAP rules, such as a student using a mobile phone or using notes when they shouldn't be, the student then may be asked to attend a VC panel meeting. The panel usually comprises of myself as the Dean of Academics, or Mrs. Lloyd as the Director of Teaching and Learning, the subject teacher or the Head of Faculty could also be involved, as well as the Head of the Year. And the panel decides the level of penalty, and this penalty could include downgrading or cancelling a SAC result. The SAC and outcome schedules will be available this week for Unit 3 and 4 subjects, and next week for Unit 1 and 2 subjects. It's highly recommended, however, that you check the due date section on your daughter's portal, as you can then view the specific day of the week that the SAC or outcome is scheduled. The SAC and outcome schedule that will be handed out to the students will only show the weeks in which these SACs are scheduled, so the due dates are more specific. If a student is unable to attend school on a day that a SAC or an outcome is conducted, it's imperative that a parent or guardian contacts the head of year. And if the student misses a SAC or outcome, they are then required to fill in the application to reschedule a SAC or outcome form. And this form is available on the portal, the VCAA resources, or from me. And then the students also have a copy of these in their VCAA student handbook, which the year 11s and 12s were given last Wednesday, and the year 10s will be getting a copy on Monday. Any application for missing a SAC on medical grounds must be supported with a medical certificate, ideally issued on the day of the SAC. And SACs will usually be rescheduled for a Friday afternoon from 3:30 till 4:45, unless other arrangements have been made with the specific subject teacher. Cases where SACs can be rescheduled is where a student is ill, if they are involved in a school event, such as co-curricular commitments, or if a student has 3 SACs scheduled on the same day. Absences due to illness must be covered by a medical certificate. Instances where SACs may not be rescheduled if a student doesn't feel prepared for the SAC. Absence due to illness but without a medical certificate, or if they've gone away on holidays with family, or because the student has more than 2 SACs in 1 week. It really has to be the 3 SACs in 1 day, where we will then look at rescheduling a SAC. We've also have access to special provisions, and at St Catherine's School we do endeavour to support your daughter in order for her to achieve her best possible VCAA. And so with this in mind, we might apply to VCAA for special examination arrangements, otherwise known as special provisions. Students may apply if they are adversely affected in a significant way by a mental health condition, a health impairment, physical disability, specific learning or language disorder, hearing or vision impairment. And there are 3 forms of special provisions. So we can have special provisions for school-based assessment, special arrangements for their external examinations, and this it does include emergencies at the end of the year written exams, as well as derived exam scores. Special provisions can range anywhere from rest breaks to extended working time to being able to use a computer or having a reader or a clarifier to assist. So just looking at the key dates. So these are the key dates that are probably quite important for you to have. So the Unit 3 and 4 enrolments need to be finalised by the 21st of February, and that is VCAA and VAS deadline, not a St Catherine's deadline. This is one that we cannot miss. Tomorrow is actually the last day for subject changes at St Catherine's, and it's to ensure that we are able to meet this VCAA and VAS deadline, because we will not get exemptions, unfortunately. We had organised the trial GAT for the 6th of April, which is the last Wednesday of the term, and we then now have the GAT on the 7th of September. Applications for special provisions do need to be in by the end of this term as well, and I have spoken with some students already who have come and sought me out. Preferences due at the end of term 3, and that's in reference to the VTAC preferences. We then have Unit 3 and 4 trial exams in the Term 3 break for students who are doing a Unit 3 and 4. I'm very, very hopeful that we will be able to conduct these face-to-face this year. Last year we were online, so that made things a little bit challenging for some subject areas, but we are hoping to have these conducted face-to-face this year. Then the oral and performance exams begin from early October and run for the whole entirety of the month, and it depends on whether your daughter is doing a subject that does require her to be at an oral examination or a performance examination. And the big one, the written exams, they are from the 26th of October till the 16th of November. And then VCAA results are available in mid-December, and then the offers for university, early offers are in mid-December, and then main round in mid-January. So these are some pretty key dates for your calendars for this year. So the VCAA is a significant undertaking for our students and also for the parents in supporting your daughters. And you will no doubt have questions or may have queries that pop up throughout the year. Please be assured that we have numerous staff that are key in working with you to support your daughters. So if you have wellbeing concerns, please contact your head of year. They were introduced before, but just to recap, Year 10, Mrs. McCallum, Year 11, Mrs. Linda Morgan, and Year 12, Miss Vicky Spanos. And then there's also Mrs. Merrin O'Connor, who is our Deputy Principal of Wellbeing. And we also have Miss Georgia Speak, who is our school psychologist. If your daughter would like to speak to a careers practitioner for more information regarding subject choices or career pathways, our careers practitioners, Mrs. Christy Tyne and Miss Zoe Paulson, beg your pardon, are also amazing resources. And if your daughter has specific concerns or questions about a subject, it's recommended that they approach their subject teacher as a starting point. If they or you feel that their query or concern isn't addressed or resolved, please contact the relevant heads of faculty. If you still have concerns or questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Mrs. Lloyd as the Director of Teaching and Learning. For special provisions and VCAA questions, please feel free to contact me. I work part-time this year and I'm not in on Thursdays, but please feel free to send me an email. I will get back to you. Finally, where to find important information. So as mentioned previously, the 2022 SAC and outcome schedules will be made available to the students, but please check the due dates on the portal for the most up-to-date and definitive information. Speaking from experience as a Year 12 teacher last year and being in and out of lockdown, there were some times where SACs did have to be rescheduled, particularly things where it didn't quite lend itself to assessing online, particularly for languages. So the schedule shows the week of the term that the SACs or the outcomes are in, but the due dates will show you the specific date and the day of the week. And finally, the study designs for each subject are so important. They are available on the VCAA website, and they will list all the key knowledge and skills for each outcome. They'll have an outline of each outcome and assessment, as well as a breakdown of how much the SACs or the SATs and the exams are worth in contributing to the study score. So thank you very much for your patience in what can be quite an overwhelming amount of information, especially for those of you who are new VCE parents, although I think there are a few veteran VCE parents here in the room. And I look forward to working with and supporting your daughters this year. And now I'd like to hand over to Ms. Zoe Paulson to talk to you about careers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kana. Yes, my name is Zoe Paulson. I've joined St Catherine's this year. I'm delivering tonight's presentation on behalf of Ms Christy Tyne, who unfortunately is unable to be here tonight. So to do her presentation justice, I'm going to be presenting just as she intended. So I'm one of the 2 careers practitioners here at St Catherine's, and our role within the school is to assist your daughter in managing her career pathways through career education, subject selection, the tertiary application process and beyond, and through to her lifelong learning. Students are provided with individual programs and they're encouraged to explore the many facets of the world of work. Over the past 2 years, careers education has developed to cope with the ever-changing world. Tertiary institutions have provided early offers to our Year 12 students, while Year 10s were offered the opportunity to complete work experience online, which is something that we're looking to continue with this year. Within the Australian labour market, predictions to November 2025 project that employment will increase in 17 of the 19 broad industries. The largest growth will be seen in the healthcare and social assistance areas, followed by accommodation and food services, professional science and technical services, and then education and training. These 4 predicted industries will generate 64.4% of the total employment growth within Australia to November 2025. This is perhaps the most impressive set of data. I have a little pie graph here showing the percentage of last year's graduates and where they received offers. As Ms Sarah Lloyd said, 100% were offered their first preference, and some of them were, many of them, achieved an offer that they weren't expecting. So there were some shifts made so that they could accept those offers. So interestingly, 25% of the cohort were accepted, I should say, they accepted a tertiary offer in management and commerce, and that has grown from the year before. 20% of our graduates have moved into the STEM pathways, and 17% have moved into health and medicine. So we've got 6% have gone into law and studies of society and culture, 26% have gone into arts and creative arts, 5% have moved into education and teaching courses, 1% went into environment studies, and I think that's just a very impressive spread, particularly with STEM. And there's some stories there of last year's graduates as well. I think Alexandra Demetrio's story is quite interesting. I needed my glasses to read it. I've got it very small in front of me here, but Alexandra she received an early offer to study at Australian National University in Canberra, ANU. However, following on from her outstanding ATAR results, she has decided to remain in Melbourne after receiving a first round offer to the University of Melbourne. So it just shows you how impressive those results were, that the girls had that wide variety to choose from. Here at St Catherine's, this is a breakdown of what we do across each year level in our careers education program. We work closely with the Year 10s, the 11s and the Year 12 cohorts. Yesterday actually, we began our Year 12 career interviews, which I know the girls always look forward to, and they have gone extremely well. They range from girls coming along with very set ideas of the courses and the institutions they want to attend, to girls who are looking for a little bit more direction. So they're individual interviews that we will hold with every single Year 12 student over the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then we will continue to meet with them on a needs basis whenever they feel the need to meet with us. And then in September, we will do an individual session with each Year 12 student to, complete their VTAC application process. And that's an incredibly thorough approach to that. And it means that we then have time to work through any CEASE applications that may be relevant, or any scholarship applications that the girls may wish to apply for. We also will assist them with their interstate and overseas applications, and these are all things that we've been discussing with them in our interviews, our one-on-one interviews, but we will continue to work throughout the year, updating them on that information. In Year 11, we undertake a similar style of interview where we try to gauge the direction they would like to head, and whether their subjects that they're doing in Year 11 will be what they need to do in Year 12 to gain entry to any courses that have prerequisites. In Year 10, this term, the Year 10 students will undertake Moresby Careers Testing, which is a very comprehensive cognitive aptitude test where the girls complete a range of questions in different styles. That is then individual career reports generated for each student at Year 10, and they will attend a career interview with myself and Miss Tyne, where we go through the results of that test, and that will certainly help them inform their subject choices that they make in Year 11, for Year 11, I should say, that they will make in Year 10. They form the Year 10 interviews, and then we will work closely with the girls in choosing suitable, interesting and engaging virtual work experience. Across Year 10, 11 and 12, we run information sessions in year level groups, but also additional sessions at lunchtimes where we will have a university representative come and talk to the girls about why they might be interested in applying to their university. We'll get them from both Melbourne-based, Victorian-based, interstate and overseas as well. We'll run different sessions on scholarships that are around, the gap years that they may look at completing once they finish Year 12. And as I've said before, we'll help them with their interstate applications, overseas applications, and any prerequisite testing that may be required for entry to courses such as the UCAT or CASPA, which is used for education entry these days. As I said, we've begun the careers interviews in Year 12. They've been really amazing, just the enthusiasm that the girls bring to those interviews, and I'm so thrilled to be joining St Catherine's and working closely with your daughters and working so well with this amazing team that are here to support your girls every step of the way. So thank you very much.